Okay, I think we're live. Welcome to the Data Analyst Show. Join us as we pull back the curtain on all things data, from the latest industry trends to our first-hand experiences as data analysts. Whether you're navigating your career or just passionate about data, we've got insights, stories, and tips for you. So this is our first episode, and I figure we can probably start by going around the room and doing a brief intro for who we are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paige Berry, and I'm a lead data analyst at DBT Labs. I have been doing data work for 20 years. And a few fun facts about me. Jay, my husband, and I have 3 cats. And when we met, we each had 2 cats, and we both lived in basement apartments. So I told my mom after our first date that I'd met the male version of me, which was amazing. But yeah, so we've always had lots of cats together, and we like to give them office-y names like Stephen Fursdale, Richard Clawman, and then make up really funny songs with cat lyrics, like he's a claw man, like he's
Gotta love the puns.
Yeah, so
Love the puns.
That's me.
Paige.
That's nice.
Thanks.
I'm Alex. I'm a senior analyst here at DBT Labs. I've got 3 kids. One of them loves to draw donut animals. So I have a number of donut animals around my office. And there's my dog. I actually passed a couple years ago, but that's Grace. And yeah,
I love the artwork.
Dog
Glad
guy.
to know it's the kids and not yours. I might have been
And yeah,
a little more
some of those
abstract.
things,
That's awesome.
Yeah, my name's Logan Cochran. Just a regular old data analyst here at DBT Labs. I've been at DBT for 3 years. I've been in a couple different roles currently here on our data team. A fun fact about me is I used to be a Spanish teacher. That's not the fun fact. I mean, it's fun. And I love video games. At the end of college, one of my mutual friends was creating a VR video game and asked me to do all of the Spanish translations. So my name is in the credits of a video game, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it's called Color. It's like a VR color puzzle game. I've never played it because I can't afford a VR headset, but it seems cool. And if you want to play it in Spanish, you can see my post-college work. It's a masterpiece.
That's fantastic.
All right,
I love that.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, cool.
Hi, everyone. My name's Chris. I'm a data analyst here at DBT Labs. I've been here for 80 months, but I've been doing various things in data for the last 7 years. I tend to be pretty clumsy, so much so that during my parents' first trip to the Grand Canyon, I almost fell in. Thankfully, I didn't, but yeah, honestly, I don't know how I missed it. It's pretty big hole in the ground. But that pulled me aside, and we're good.
Oh boy.
Thankfully, things have gotten a little better of recent, but I try to be mindful. So now to dig into a few topics for discussion today, as we're setting the context, would love to hear about what being a data analyst means to you.
There's the perspective of I'm going to make a bunch of dashboards and deliver a bunch of things.
Oh my God, yeah.
To me, that is not really what being a data analyst is about. I think more of the analyst side, but I
Wait, are
tend to
we
consider...
not here to just build dashboards?
Wait.
I mean, occasionally I do think maybe we are, but in an ideal
don't
world,
want the
no.
dashboard.
Yeah. Even when it comes to dashboards, being a data analyst is more of being a storyteller, right? We're not the ones making a decision, but we're the ones providing all of the information to the decision makers. And so whether it is generating a dashboard that tells a story and helps someone work through a problem or identify any issues, or if it's like a deep dive analysis that we're doing, like we're presenting a perspective to people who are taking that perspective and leveraging it to make decisions. So being considerate of the context of the story and how everything plays into it is really key in being a successful data analyst. That's kind of the lens that I try to look through everything as I'm working to build something out for someone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great mindset to have.
Yeah.
Similarly for me, it's more about being curious and being in a role where the data or some of the methods we use, like building a dashboard or doing some kind of analysis, is really just a means to an end. As I've gotten to know you all in my time here at DBT, it feels like many analysts, we've unconventional career backgrounds and folks end up stumbling their way into this role. I often find that a lot of the traits that these folks have in common is that curiosity, that desire to help people, and to your point, really trying to find that story and give someone information rather than just build a dashboard or write a script.
Yeah. That curiosity is really key as part of the role, the job, what we do. I think of it as being a data analyst is like being a detective. You have either a business question that somebody is trying to answer, or a question of like, why don't these numbers match? Or what is happening with this metric here? Why is it spiking? Why is it falling? And then you get to go take your little flip notebook and you get to go and like essentially ask all the questions of the different data models, or even the people who are entering the data, like all sorts of different sources. You've got your sources, you've got questions you're asking, and eventually you can pull together what happened or what's going on, or what's finally making sense out of all the data. That's your story, or that's the article you write, or that's if you've figured out the culprit. And it's very interesting stuff thinking of it that way, and being able to come up with like the answer of what's going on. That's at least one part of it.
Should we just change our job titles to like corporate detective?
I'm picturing in like a Sherlock Holmes hat and a bubble pipe every day when she comes into the office,
just sitting there, hard boiled, like.
Absolutely,
I haven't found the culprit yet.
Yeah, I need
like a smoky jazz lounge.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
that is me. That is
noir.
me. And then, of course, there's the other side of it. Is like once you have an idea of what's going on, then the question of like, well, what should we all do about it? That's when it starts to get really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that.
I really agree with that detective take. A common thread among good analysts is that we are skeptical by nature to some degree. And one phrase that really captures it for me is analysts hate unearned conviction. I can't stand when someone has this deep belief in something and there's no data to back it up. And so I feel like having that magnifying glass up and like saying, is this really what's going on here? That's just such a core part of being a good analyst.
That was an amazing line. Analysts hate unearned conviction. That was beautiful, Alex.
Wow. I think that's the quote.
I thought of it 10 minutes ago. Ooh,
that's
okay. Yeah, let's roll.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I must say that it worked. It was killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe it or not, this was not rehearsed. that was great.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I appreciate that perspective, Alex. I think it's so true. Especially frustrating is not the right word, but it is a little funny when you work with other stakeholders or people that just take numbers at face value. And I feel like as an analyst, like I struggle with that because I'm always like, every time I show out a number, I just want to be like asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Like there's so many caveats and concerns, and I feel like it's kind of like bled over into my everyday life. Like I feel like when I'm seeing like advertisers, have ads or other products and stuff, I'm just like, but where's the data? Like this is clearly just like a unbacked claim,
100%.
Right. Which is actually, this is funny because it might segue into another topic, but this is actually what gets under my skin a little bit when I see demos of people using AI to answer data questions. I mean, talk about unearned conviction. Oh my gosh.
Tell me a little bit more about that page. So,
I've seen demos of tools where it's like, hook up AI to your data, and then you can ask it a question like, what was revenue last month? And then the AI spits out revenue last month was blah 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 number, and I'm just like, what do you mean though? But wait, what about this? And I don't trust
what
it
is
at
revenue
all.
Yeah, 100%.
What is revenue?
It's just hallucinating all kinds of numbers.
So it's that definitely, like, it comes out with so much unearned conviction. Here's the number. There are a million things that I would want to double check before I could ever trust something like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a good segue into AI, the proliferation of all these tools. And if you're worried about it, taking your job, it's funny talking with my parents about this. And it's very easy for folks not in our industry to buy into that outside hype and get the Kool-Aid. But yeah, I agree with you, Paige. I don't think that AI is like, while it's certainly impressive with what it can do, it doesn't have that deep nuance. It doesn't have that context, right? That be able to really explain why something is trending. And then also, how can you trust that it's not just hallucinating or adding in its own color? So yeah, in the short term, not immediately concerned, but I do think it's a useful tool that we can leverage.
Yeah, I think the potential is really fantastic, but there's a long way to go. Yeah.
I think
it's more of like, go ahead, Alex.
Nope, go ahead, Nick.
Fine.
Analyst Logan.
I'll go.
I always prepend your name with analyst, like in my head every time. I'm like looking for you on Slack. Oh, analyst Logan.
Yeah, it's my persona. Like I said earlier, I was a Spanish teacher. Then I worked in healthcare. Like I've always been in Indiana. I've been very slow to like get out into the tech world. When I started at DBT 3 years ago, I didn't know what a cloud data platform was. Like I was like, I don't know. I use Microsoft SQL Server on-prem at my old jobs. Who knows?
Yep.
I think it was a year and a half ago that someone was using LLM, and I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, tell me what LLM is. So I don't buy into all the AI hype of like, we're all going to lose our jobs. I didn't even know what this stuff was. I think that there's a world of people who are like super hyped about it. I think of AI as more being like alarm bells that we can set up, right? It can kind of give us indications for things that saves us a lot of time of having to like monitor stuff, right? We build a lot of things that folks use as a Monday morning newspaper. They get in, they look at the numbers, they see if anything's off. And AI can kind of quickly analyze something and be like, hey, maybe dig into this and get a better feel for it. But kind of to your point, Paige, right? It's going to, if we're just relying on it to give us numbers all the time, there's a lot of questions around how was that number generated? What's the context and the background behind that? Which can be really frustrating for an analyst as well. And so I think of setting it up, using it to alert us, using it to identify a concern, which then allows us to really use our analyst chops and get in and start digging through problems and pulling out our bubble pipes and figuring out what's going on rather than looking at the same dashboard every single day and hoping that we see a trend that maybe is a little more nuanced than we would have caught.
Like that.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with it too. I feel like what good is an AI tool if you don't have good questions to ask it? Like we should be the best question askers in the company. So technically, it's going to get there. But if you're just asking it like, oh, what is revenue? Like AI won't be the one asking you questions back. You have to be the curious one, the one with the right prompt.
Yeah, I mean, it's another this is a great quote. What gets an AI tool if you don't have good questions to ask?
Man, Alex is just
you're
nailing it.
On fire.
I prepped all week.
That's incredible.
So impressed.
But I would agree with that. And there's a quote that's kind of been going around the valley where, it's AI probably won't replace people, but people that are using AI will probably replace people that aren't using it. So I think it's really just about learning how to use the tool in the right ways. But yeah, I totally agree with that. I think what makes the AI tools the most powerful is just like how you're actually engaging with it versus solely leaning on it. I also think, candidly, I've just not been impressed with a ton of these features. And I feel like AI as a whole is going to become a feature that's baked in and less of a standalone product, in my opinion. And, some of these vendors that we've talked with and, some friends that are work at other companies, it feels like AI is just kind of an acronym for adjusted for inflation with the product pricing. Doesn't really provide any brand new value just yet. Maybe that will change in the time to come.
Yeah.
Are y'all using AI in your day to day?
Good question. Yes, that is one thing I actually really do appreciate it for is it has revolutionized the Slack messages I send to stakeholders, how I communicate with stakeholders, because man, I can just brain dump and it can just be like the messiest bunch of run-on sentences and all the thoughts at once. And then I can say, please make this into something that an executive could read and understand and respond to in 10 seconds. And it does, and it's amazing. And it's so much faster than it would have taken me to resculpt everything I just brain dumped into it. It's fantastic. What about the rest of you?
That's really smart. I do not use it for that. I oftentimes forget to use it unless I already have it leveraged somewhere. So in VS Code, when I'm building in DBT, my favorite thing that it does is when I'm adding documentation and it will pre-prompt me with documentation suggestions. I'm like, great, this is
so nice.
Saving me tons of time.
That auto completion.
Yeah, it's incredible. Or there have been times where I'm updating a dashboard in Looker and I have to update a bunch of YAML and I'll just grab stuff, drop it into ChatGPT and be like, hey, I want you to, take a shot at all this documentation, add these fields that I need all of this to fit into Looker with these kind of different aspects. And then it will kind of dump out a big chunk of code that I can copy paste and then tweak as I go. But I'm not again, I forget to use it a lot, but when it's there, in VS Code and it prompts me, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. It is a huge time saver.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not using it daily, I would say.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How about you, Alex?
I'm pretty integrated. I'd say ChatGPT is kind of my go-to. I used the research function lately to help me ideate on a experimental design for PLG. That was pretty cool. It came up with a whole experiment design on its own, and I kind of took what I was interested in from that. But I'd say I use it pretty frequently. I like the DPT Copilot was pretty sweet. I got an experience there of having my just simple stuff changing.
Wait, tell me more about this Copilot. What did you use it for?
So I needed to rename a bunch of columns, and I was like, okay, these are all formatted for Salesforce __C, random underscores in places, and I just change these column names, and it's bam. So
that's nice.
I think time efficiency use case is already very much there,
Yeah, absolutely.
I love using it to write the first pass at documenting the new model I'm making or something. It's so much faster.
Yeah.
I think I was having a hard time identifying my take on AI until I heard, I think it was Mark Porter, which I don't know if I'm allowed to quote him directly, but he said something that I was like pretty stoked about because it felt like it aligned with my perspective on the world. I tend to have like a pretty positive outlook on things, and I feel like a lot of people get stressed out about AI, and Mark put it into terms of like, AI is really good for tasks that take a long time to do and a short time to verify. And it's really bad for tasks that take a long time to do and a long time to verify, right? Like if it's documentation, if it's kind of ideating on something like Alex was saying, it's really quick to just like drop some stuff in. It gives you an output that's like really helpful. And you can just be like, okay, this is what I want, or this looks good, or we need to tweak some things. But if it's like a massive code base that you're doing, like it's going to take you more time to go through and kind of edit things and fix things and verify things. Or if you're asking it just for one single output, like you're going to have to go and write your own code and verify stuff. So there's kind of a time trade-off where these really simple tasks, like you're saying, Paige, of dropping some ideas in, make this cleaner so that I can ship it off to an exec, like that's a great use for AI. But then like our jobs aren't going anywhere because there's a lot of complex things that require a lot of thinking and a lot of time to verify, and like we are still going to be needed for all of that. And I think what it seems like AI is drifting towards is it's really helpful for these quick, tedious tasks, but some of the more cumbersome things, there's always going to be people who are needed for doing that work and for digging in.
I agree with that completely. I think how we work will change. This idea that we might be using the tool to actually do some of these tasks, and then we're just going to be verifying it and double checking. I think I would be hard pressed to believe that there's going to be a future where some exec is going to some execs do blindly trust numbers, I guess. Yeah. We've all been there. But I think there's always going to be a need. So maybe it's something where we're working more in tandem and more of like a data verifier in a way, or an information verifier. I use GPT pretty regularly. Honestly, it's just a way better search, especially if I'm trying to write some kind of window function or Python documentation. Gone are the days of having to like scrub through all kinds of like obscure like Stack Overflow, like cross-validated, even like Quora answers. Yeah. And it is just kind of funny as I've gotten deeper and deeper to the analytics space. It's like, man, there's not like a single like coding pattern or like a business question that hasn't been answered before in some factor. Like some analyst somewhere has like had the same question and like someone answered it on the internet a long time ago, you know? So it's nice that tools like GPT can help make the information a little easier and faster to discover, or give you that jumping off place for your code.
It's also great for troubleshooting. I forget about that a lot, but when I'm in VS Code and I'm getting some sort of weird error and I can't get something to work, I'll literally just copy everything that I have and drop it into ChatGPT and be like, tell me what is wrong. And it can walk me through like, here's what you should run. This is probably where you're missing a file. Go and do this. And every single time I'm able to fix the problem without reaching out to a million people. And so it makes it way easier when you're like trying to learn something new or leverage a new piece of a tool and you can't quite figure it out. It's super helpful to essentially pair with and be like, okay, now I did the thing that you said, and now I'm getting this error. Tell me what this error means. And even for like random Git commands, there are new Git commands that I have to use, and I'm like, I don't actually know what this is doing. Can you break down what I just did and what the output was? Yeah. And so it's like a really nice, in a weird way, a nice learning partner when you're doing something new.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's cool. Logan, I'm getting so many ideas right now from you on like what I could use this for.
None of these ideas are mine. These are things that other people told me. They're great suggestions that I've just kind of taken in stride.
On the side. What do I use this tool for?
I haven't answered any of these realistically. Yeah, I just have ChatGPT listening and then giving me prompts. So it's doing a great job so far.
It's great. Dead internet theory is soon bleeding over to dead podcast theory, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like we did like a pretty good deep dive into AI, but curious to hear outside of AI, what else excites you about being a data analyst today?
I like this question because I've been doing stuff with data analysis in some form or another for a couple of decades. What's been really fun for me is knowing that back when I was in college, there weren't classes on this. You sort of learned on the job. What I love now is that kind of what you were saying earlier, Chris, that there are so many people out there doing this work. Someone out there has solved the problem you're working on at some point. And the more of us that are out there, the more we're able to get connected in different ways, maybe through like the DBT community, things like that, the more we're able to share stuff that we've learned on the job or in classes in school, stuff that I've never heard of, that are new ways of doing things that I get introduced to by working with people like you all, meeting people in the DBT community and hearing what they're working on. I think that ability for all of us growing our skills together more and more over time is something that I'm most excited about. The way we can share what we know and make each other better, and answer like more questions or come up with more ways to solve these problems that we all encounter in our day to day. It's just very exciting to me.
I love that. That resonates with me a lot. And maybe something we could save for like a future episode or topic, but I would love to hear like how you balance the constant need for learning in our role. I feel like there's always new things to learn, and like sometimes I'm like really excited about it, and other times I'm like, oh, like I thought I had this figured out now, like I'm good, you know. So I'd love to dive into that maybe another time, but that resonates with me so much. I think for me, what excites me a lot about the field today is just the number of tools. Some time ago, you used to really need very, very technical people manage the database to get the data out, and then data analysts were either these statisticians doing quant stuff, or you were a spreadsheets person where you're modeling things in Excel. And over the last decade, there's just been an amazing proliferation of tools. It's really fun that analysts today, we get to work across the stack. Sometimes we're doing data modeling. Sometimes we're doing some analysis and stats. Sometimes we're doing like a visualization. So the landscape today just allows a lot more people to jump in and work across the spectrum and not be as siloed.
Yeah.
For me, that's really exciting, and it kind of blends the right balance of like, all right, like I don't want to talk with you right now. I just want to be in the numbers and do some code. Or like, all right, I'm actually pretty excited to go and talk to my stakeholders and like tell that story, socialize an insight.
Yeah.
It's just fun to see like what data analytics has become today versus what it was 5-10 years ago.
Totally.
I'm not excited about anything. AI is taking our job, so what's the point?
It's over.
Okay.
It's over.
I totally changed my mind, so
Are you
it's done.
change
Let's
your
wrap it
title
up.
to changing your title to prompter, Logan?
Yep. No, I think what's exciting, and this is like more of a general what excites me about the job, period, is the ability to unlock understanding for other people, whether it's myself or peers or stakeholders. It's a really fun aspect of our job that it's like, we work at our computers all day long, but the goal, the intention of all the work that we're doing is to build clarity for the people around us and give them some insight that maybe they had with a lot of conviction and they were right. Maybe they were totally wrong about things, but being able to kind of bring that understanding across the board to people is what's really exciting. And I think that's probably what drives a lot of us, is that light bulb moment for people when you present something or you help them understand why something is the way that it is, right? Because anybody can look at a number, but a lot of times when you're working with someone, you really want them to understand why that number is the way that it is and what the impact of that is, because one number doesn't really tell you anything. And I think that's really what excites me being an ex-teacher. I want people to understand everything, and I want them to have this clarity with the things that they're working on so that they can then go forth and kind of spread that knowledge and have positive experiences and have a good impact with the information that they have.
That is beautiful.
That was really nice.
Hey, I'm just trying to compete with Alex over here.
It's all about the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think exciting for me right now is I think the tools are in place where we have access to upstream data models. We can be AEs, but also a lot of tech companies have evolved to the point where they know the difference between an analyst and an AE. And they know if you're hiring an analyst, you may or may not want them to be an AE, but I feel like there was a lack of clarity there for a while. So now that I'm a data analyst, really focused on learning the business as one of these liaisons between different stakeholders, and I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been interesting to see how the field has matured. In 2016, it was all like data scientist, and that was like the buzzword. But then some companies would list that, and then it's like the JD is like, but you're kind of just, putzing around with some VLOOKUPs in Excel. And then others are like, well, actually, we want you to be a quant on this, trading algorithm. And yeah, it definitely feels like things have matured a lot more, and like swim lanes have been more defined. I actually think DBT, Tristan came up with that term, right? This idea of like a analytics engineer. and kind of what it is today. Well, this has been great. So thank you all for joining. It's really awesome talking with you all, and great getting our first episode in the books. So thanks everyone for joining us for this week's episode. We'll catch you in the next one.
See y'all.
Oh yeah. Goodbye,
Logan.
and sleep tight, our sweet data babies. We'll see you then.
So good.
Data babies.
This show is brought to you by DBT. DBT is the industry standard for data transformation. It allows your team to prepare data for analysis in a way that's centralized, modular, and entirely open, all inside your cloud data platform. The outcome? Consistently dependable analytics for your organization. Now, the DBT community was built for and by data pros. Come hang out and transform with 70,000 of the brightest analytics engineers, data analysts, and data scientists in the world. With DBT, you transform your data. With the DBT community, you transform your data career.